What's up, everybody? This is the Healing Kings podcast, and of course, this is your host, Drew Cos. And I got a spicy topic for you today, guys. I'm gonna lay it out today. Why doesn't he open up? Slash, how do I get my man to open up? I'm gonna tell you the answer right now before I even give you the roadmap. It's because you're not listening. All right, so I'm gonna actually show you what's probably happening, and I'm going to show you along the episode of what you can do to change that, right? If women are asking this question, it's because they want to see some change, and they should see some change. They want to, and they deserve it. So let's just think about men and women in general. We already know that women and men do not communicate the same way. They do not communicate the same way. Usually men communicate by headlines. So if you ever saw a newspaper, you'll realize that there's a big headline that's bolded, and then underneath it is a lot of paragraphs. Men are usually like the headline, and women are like the paragraphs. You need both. You need both. Neither is wrong, but you need both. So let's dig in and find out why he's not opening up, and see if you can find an issue that you can fix. If you're like me, sometimes when you see an issue, sometimes you can beat yourself up, but we're not trying to condemn you today. We're trying to give you some information to help you have better relationships with your husband, your spouse, your son, your brother, your uncle, any man in your life. Okay, so let's dig in. Number one, if he's not opening up, right, he might be past whatever you're asking him to open up about. So let's say something happened with him at work, he got in an argument, and he talked about it with you, and he put it behind him. And 3 weeks later comes and you bring it back up. He probably already blocked that out of his head and buried it. I'm not saying that that's great. I'm not saying that that's a right solution. I'm just telling you what's probably happening. And it'll usually sound like this from him. I thought we already discussed that. Ladies, come on, help me out. You ever hear that? Or, I've been past that. That's over. There's a scene in Creed 3, right? Donnie and his wife, they are in the living room, and he comes back from a night that was a nightmare. Comes back where his fighter has lost a fight to Dame, right? And if you guys didn't know the story or don't know the story, go back and watch the movie. It's great. He comes back a night, his fighter is almost paralyzed. He gets kicked out of his own gym. He has now found out that his mother was hiding letters from him for years. And then he finds out also that Dame had something to do with messing up Drago's shoulder, which threw off the fight. It's a lot happening. And I'm saying all this so you can figure out what's happening when he gets to his wife. The night before that, also, Dame is over his house, and they're talking, and he realizes that a lot of this stuff that happened in his past is coming back up. So she gets there and she's like, what's wrong with you? You gotta open up. And once she says it like that, he goes off. He goes off into uh, leave it, let it be. I'm tired of discussing this. I'm not talking about this no more. We all know that's something that he probably should talk about, but this is what's happening. She gets mad back at him. She's like, if you don't do this, you have to do this. You got to do this for your daughter. If he's past it already, it might be a little bit harder to bring up, and it might be harder for him to open up. So something that she does is she gives him time. Something that I wish that she would have done, which would probably crack the code right then. Ladies, take your notebook out right now. This is a key. If he's mad like that, give him a hug and hold him. You don't realize how much men aren't touched outside of sex. We need human touch. There's a study that talks about us needing about 2 to 8 hugs a day, and two was like the low end. If she would have hugged him and held him, it would have been game over. It would have been game over. He would have broke down. He would have cried. He probably would have told her exactly what was happening. He ends up later saying that, but at that moment, it was just anger by fuel. So he was past what was happening. It's not a good thing, but that's what had happened at that time. And this is what happens with men. It doesn't mean that you cannot go back to that subject, but just be aware. When you go back and he's not ready to talk about it, it might come off aggressive, and that's not what he's trying to do. The second one, he probably can't open up to you because you be out here spilling the tea. He hears you when you're pillow talking about everything that your girlfriend did. Don't make me go to my church talk. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. You're pillow talking about everything that somebody else has did. And he's like, hey, man, if you're pillow talking to me about this, you're probably going to be talking to your girlfriends about me. And I can hear y'all already saying in the choir stand, I'm just telling him this because I trust him. Okay, that could be true. But we know if you're pillow talking about other people, he knows that you might be pillow talking about me too. Stop spilling the tea, man. So he's feeling like I can't even trust you. And if I can't trust you with my stuff, then I'm not going to open up about stuff. You're going to make me feel crazy. Which brings us to our next point. He might feel that when he opens up, you'll use it against him. I've had this happen to me before in previous relationships. I would talk about my dad hurt. I would talk about not feeling secure. I would talk about feeling weak on certain subjects and something like that. And as soon as we got into arguments, that came right back up. And I cannot tell you how I did not open up for years because of that. I didn't want to feel that this person or somebody else could use against me my words when I was expressing these words from my heart. Crazy, right? You have to realize that if he shares something, it's between you and him, unless he tells you to share with somebody else. You have to also understand that when we fight or we argue, we don't hit below the belt. That's mature stuff. We do not hit below the belt. We do not hit to destroy our teammate. If you cannot see your man as your teammate, leave him. If you cannot see him as your teammate, leave him because you're going to be hurting your own teammate. What would it look like for a team to keep going against each other? They're going to lose. If that's your teammate, you can't hit below the belt when he shares something that's big. And same thing for men. You can't hit below the belt. We do not hit below the belt. It's not right. It's not cool. It's immature, and we got to stop that. The next one, let me get on with this one. He might feel if he shares his emotions, he opens up, that you're no longer going to see him as Batman. Now, I like Batman, right? And we both know that Bruce Wayne and Batman are kind of the same person, but they're not. If he feels that when he opens up that you're going to look at him as being weak, he's just not going to do it. And I've heard women before say, I used to open up. I want him to open up, but every time he opens up, I kind of get scared because it's another side of him. Yeah, that's the Bruce Wayne side of him. That's the human side of him. And if he feels that that's going to be taking away from him, that he can't be Batman for you, he probably won't open up. You really kind of want him to be Bruce Wayne when he's at home. You want him to be completely open, honest, raggedy slippers, robe, all of that. You want that. You don't want it to be where when he's home, he has to be Batman. That's it. You want him to be Batman in the real world, take care of business. But you may look at him as being invaluable or being weak if he shares these things. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's kind of why men don't cry a lot in front of women. We'll do that on a different episode. Next one, the communication skills are lacking. You are not listening to hear him. You're listening to respond. How do I know this? Because usually if you watch women when they're listening to a man, what usually happens is they're listening for the first minute, and then you can see them kind of check out, and they've already built their case. They've already built their case of what really happened, what you need to do, what's your fault, what are we going to do for dinner. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. He may start to feel, literally, every time I talk, you start zoning out and you come up with your answer. You start to become a lawyer. You start to presenting a case back to him. And he's like, I'm not asking you to present a case. I'm asking you to listen because I need to be heard. Because the world's not hearing me, and I want you to hear me because you are my world. The communication skills are lacking. And let's just be honest. All of us have communication flaws. If you think you don't, you're the problem. All of us have communication flaws. And all of us have to get better at communicating, meaning we listen to hear this person. And then we go a little step further. We listen and watch body language. How do they feel when they're saying these things? And we go a little step further after that and realize what he's saying, it might be just like level 1. He's really trying to get to level 3 or something that really, really hurt him. But he has to get level 1, level 2, level 3. My last one. This one is probably the one that touches me the most. He may not be opening up because he's been hurt by his parents when he opened up. This is a bigger one. Not his girlfriend, his parents. Parents have the ability to help a child develop, grow, and all of that. And when they always shut the child up, the child starts to realize or starts to think that, my voice doesn't matter. I shouldn't be saying things. And this is what it is. I'm going to walk around life like that. And sometimes I can be guilty of that. I have to make sure when Aaliyah is on 1,000 that I do not try to quiet her completely down to shut up her voice. And that you definitely need some therapy with that. You need some prayer with that. You need some time with that. So I get him to open up. I want to sum it up all in this. I get him to open up by creating a space where he's not going to feel judged. And that space may not look like Starbucks with lattes. It may look like going for a run or walk, going to an event that he likes, and letting him talk, letting him watch what's happening, right? I started seeing women. I don't watch football, but I started seeing women, whatever team their husband likes, they end up liking the same team, or they like the opposite team. So now they have time to talk. And I guarantee you he opens up way more because that's his safe space. And you have to realize, women, that your safe space is not his safe space, and that's okay. So I'm going to give you a call to action or some homework. I want you to think about those things that I said. I want you to take one of those at least and see if you can put it into practice. If you want your relationship to be better with your the current men in your life or the future men in your life, if you start now with these tips, I guarantee it will help. Other than that, guys, have an amazing day. Go be great.